Hey crafty friends, this is Chelsea and welcome to today's video. We are going to be using the brand new Creative Design Team 12x12 sketchbook. This is volume 2. I'm so excited for this. There's another 42 sketches. You can use them as double page layouts or single pages if you want to, and just another whole round of ideas. This actually comes as a digital file, so you can view it digitally, you can print it out like I do, or you can even send it to a printer like Staples or something and get it printed and bound for you. Now that I have volume 1 and volume 2 of the 12x12 sketchbook, I think that's what I'm going to do and get them bound together in one book. The first sketch I'm working with out of this sketchbook is this one here. I was looking for something simple because I have this gorgeous paper. It's full of life from Stampin' Up. Beautiful rainbow paper, really saturated colors, and some busier patterns as well. So I wanted something where I could kind of chop the paper up a little bit, have some pieces of the patterns, but have a lot of white space. So I think this will be ideal. There are all the measurements underneath, and that really helps with these sketchbooks. All the layouts have the measurements, so it makes cutting everything up and getting started super easy. Now I think I'm going to be scrapbooking some of my daughter's pictures with her Magnetiles. I thought it'd be fun to do a layout kind of stretching over a couple of years. She got these for Christmas 2021 and has played with them quite routinely for the last few years. So I thought it'd be fun to take some pictures from over time, not just right when she got them, but over the last couple years of her playing with them and different structures that we've built, and just scrapbook the story of this favorite toy. Side note, if you guys have kids or grandkids and you haven't gotten them some Magnetiles, I highly recommend it. They're tons of fun. We've built all kinds of structures, and it's just fun to see how her buildings have changed since she first started. So I have the first 4 photos here, but I'm going to print some more from the last couple of years to fill out the whole design. Here is a closer look at this gorgeous paper. Like, look at that, just beautiful. And I thought it would go perfectly with my photos because I have every kind of color going on in these photos. And that's one of the reasons that I haven't scrapbooked them yet, is because I wanted a paper that would work with it. And a lot of times paper collections have kind of like a fixed color palette. So when I saw this whole rainbow of colors, and they're quite saturated colors too, I figured that would work perfectly for her rainbow tiles. She's wearing all different kinds of outfits in the photos. So it should be an interesting combination. And that's why I wanted to have so much white space. So of course I am starting my layout off with white backgrounds, 12x12 white cardstock. So the first step is to, of course, pick my papers and then go ahead and cut them up into the triangles. So this is kind of like a chevron pattern, but it's made up out of triangles. So I have my square here, and I'm just going to rotate it so that the 2 points are lined up with where this is going to cut. It's worth taking the time to kind of maneuver it around and get it as straight as you possibly can. And then cut. And then you have 2 of the triangles. I went ahead and cut my other papers, so I'm just going to go ahead and start laying them out onto my page. Now, the thing that I love about sketches is it takes a lot of that thinking work out of it for me, so that I can spend my time playing and enjoying what I'm doing. We have a couple of little ends here. That's just one of these cut in half so that I have some on either end, and I will adjust this so that they are even on each end, and there is just a little gap in between the 2 rows. Now we're going to do the same thing over here, and I'm going to leave my gap right around that 6-inch mark. Basically, I'm just trying to alternate the patterns, also kind of spread out the colors evenly so I don't have all kind of dark colors together or all yellows together, but kind of spread it out. And what I'm going to do is just eyeball this and get it kind of where I want it, get as straight as I can get it, and then I will go ahead and stick everything down. You could also bring in a T-ruler or something like that to help you line up your one row. If I move this like that, then I could put my T-ruler at just above 6 inches and use that to help me get accurate placement. I want the point of this one right at the 6-inch mark using the markings on my Versamat. And that way I'll have an equal amount of these hanging off the edge, which I will trim off. Okay, I got my first row stuck down, and then I'm going to just leave maybe like 1/8 of an inch between these two. And I want to get the point of this one lined up kind of in the middle where those two meet. So I'm just going to eyeball it, and since I got the first line fairly straight, we'll just go with that as my measurement instead of using my ruler again. Went ahead and finished adhering these off camera, and then I'm just going to flip this over and trim off any of that excess that's hanging over the edge. That way we have nice finished edges and that design just carries right on, and I think that looks the best rather than trying to end the design before the edge of the paper. Oh, and then I'll flip it back around to the way I had it. Isn't that such a fun pattern? Now that doesn't even take a lot of pattern paper, but because the patterns on here are so impactful, I think it's the perfect kind of accent to my photos. Now I'm going to try and squeeze in as many photos as I can on this layout because I had a lot when I started looking through. I've actually been collecting these photos for a little while. I have an album on my computer that is labeled photos I want to scrap and then photos I want to print. So in the photos I want to scrap, as I'm going along and I find photos that I want to tell that story, then I make sure that I put them in there, and even if I just put one from a collection of photos, it has the date on it so I can always go back and search my whole library. Now this was supposed to be a 5x7 photo, but I didn't have any of these photos that were like really good or that I really wanted to use as a 5x7. So what I did is I actually cut my mat at a 6x8, and I'm just using black cardstock, and then I trimmed my photos down a little bit. So these are measuring 2 7/8 by 3 7/8. So that gives me enough for a little black border around the outside and then a little gap between my photos as well. Now, if you're always trying to find more spaces for photos like I am, then you're gonna like what I did here. So this side is supposed to have 2 4x4s and 2 4x6 landscape. So I stuck with the 4x4s, but then on the 4x6s, I cut photos to the same measurements as these and did portrait ones. I usually always have more portrait photos than landscape. And actually, some of these photos, I had a choice. I had landscape and portrait options. Sometimes I'm good about doing that, but that way I can fit even more photos. I had debated adding flip-flaps or by adding like a pocket page in between, but I like the idea of the design not being interrupted. Now, another really fun thing on this page that I liked was this big circle that goes behind the title and how the title kind of wraps around the corner of that photo. You can see this was a 5x7 photo here, and then there's space for journaling down here. Now, my block is taking up more room, so I have a little bit less room for journaling, so I'm gonna have to play around with exactly where I'm gonna put that, but let's do that circle next. So I used my Cricut to cut out a circle from this pattern. I just couldn't resist. It has all the pretty colors on it, and in order to get it right in the middle of my paper, I created the circle in Cricut Design Space, and then when you go to actually cut it, you can adjust the size of your material. So I adjusted it to 6x6, and then I was able to visually center it, which worked really well. And I know there are other ways you could do that as well, but this worked really good because I wanted to make sure that center was pretty close to the actual center. So now I can just tuck that under here, and now I see I need to move this down. Just kind of play around with what colors I want to show, if I want some green poking out there. I've also gone ahead and printed out my journaling on white cardstock from my computer, and then I cut it with the Buildable tags die from Close to My Heart. And I want this to just kind of nestle right in there. Then I can play with placement of how far over I want this. If I want this to come farther over so more of the paper shows, we can do that too. I'm going to go ahead and attach these photos so that they're not sliding all over the place. And then I'll decide on my permanent spot for this, and if I want more green showing, or if I want to turn it around and have more like blues and greens, no yellow. Decisions. I like that, how it just kind of disappears under there, but everything is pointing right to this corner. Gone ahead and stuck my circle down and attached my photos, and now I'm just going to place this mat. My journaling is not attached yet, but I did make sure to leave this side with no adhesive so I can move my journaling around and tuck it under with no problem. It's a little hard to eyeball this straight. You could always use a ruler, because with the circle and then the zigzag pattern over here, it's really difficult to see if I'm actually getting this straight. So this corner just needs to drop a tad. It's really hard to see with all the different angles we got going on over here. Everything is attached down now except for my journaling, because this cannot go down until I have my title in place. That's kind of the last big piece. And I debated whether I should cut my title in black or pick a color and do that. It's kind of hard when there's so many different colors what I want to grab out, because we got different colors going on in all her outfits. There's a bit of yellow, and then kind of just the rainbow of the blocks and the rainbow of the paper. It's a lot of color going on, so I think I want my title to be a little bit calmer. I don't want it to kind of take all the attention away from the photos. So I'm going to pull out my outlined alphabet from close to my heart. I love this alphabet. It's a really good size. I have a few options here for combinations for my title. So when you cut this, you get the outline and then you get the inside part. I decided I want to add some glitter since everything is fairly matte going on here. I don't have shimmer anywhere else. So I cut out of black, I cut out of some pearl white, and then I cut out of this beautiful green color, which is called Shy Shamrock. It's part of the new In Colors, and I was thinking this would be a really great way to bring out some of the deeper greens in here. There's also greens in the magnet tiles. There's little hints of it here and there, and I thought this went quite well. So I figured there's no point in doing a white outline because it's on white cardstock. Over here it's not, but over here it will be. So I could do a black outline, which I think looks okay. I could also do the glitter outline and fill it with black, which I think is okay too, but a little bit too heavy. I don't like how dark that is. The green doesn't really pop against the black. If I was going to do that, I think I prefer the outline version. But another option, which I know I have a lot of white going on here, but I kind of like this because I have some shine coming off that pearl paper and then the glitter of the actual letters. So let me know down in the comments which version you would choose, but I'm going to go ahead and cut out the rest of my letters, I think, in this combination and see how it looks. Here's how my title's looking so far. Nothing stuck down, that's why it looks super crooked, but I think I like it. Now this is supposed to be hyphenated. Magnet tiles, there should be a hyphen before the T, but to have that, I just don't think it makes any sense. It looks kind of strange. So I'm just going to go like this, magna, and then tiles down the side. I love this placement. It makes for a super unique feature using that circle and then the title wrapped around, and kind of leads right to the journaling. This is such a fun design. I love playing with the rest of the team's designs. I believe this one is Janice's. As soon as I saw it, I was like, oh, that looks like a Janice sketch, and it is. So I was super excited to work with it. I'm gonna go ahead and stick these down. Now, what I have found works for me is to place my outline where I want it and just make sure it's straight. I'm gonna go ahead, add little dots of my Barely Art glue onto the outside, stick that down, and then I will glue down the inside. Otherwise, I find if I do the inside part first, I usually run out of space. And probably what I should do is start with the A and work my way backwards just to make sure that I get that A exactly where I want it, because I want this to be perfectly lined up with this underneath of it. So I'll start in that corner and then work my way around. All right, my title is attached. And I think I'm about ready to start moving on to some embellishment. Now there's not a lot of embellishment on the sketch, and I think that's how I'm going to keep it because there's a lot happening here with all these busy photos. with my title, the pattern paper. There's a lot going on, so I'm just going to add a tiny bit of embellishment. Now this sketch has quite a few little tabs. So you can see here these little tabs that are coming out from behind the photos. At first I was like, I don't know what I'm going to use those for, or if I want to leave them off or whatever. But I thought, wouldn't it be fun, since these pictures are from a variety of different times, if I could date the photos. So like these two are from the same time. This one is from a different time. So is this one. These are all kind of right around the same time, within like a month or so of each other. So if you have like a tab punch or a die or even a stamp, you could use that. I'm using this decorative shape set, and I like that this has the little stitching detail. So I'm going to cut those out of white, and then I'm going to stamp them with the month and the year. I'm not going to get specific with the actual day. So I looked through my stash, and I have this set. It's quite old. It's called Capture This from Close to My Heart, and it has fairly small months. I think that should fit well on these little tabs, and then really small numbers. So that should be perfect. I also like this one, has some good journaling lines too in different lengths, which is fun if you didn't want to print your journaling and you just want to stamp some lines and write your journaling. That would work really well. I'm going to use my archival black ink, and then I'm going to go ahead and stamp this. I always like to check my stamps before I stamp on my good piece so I don't have to recut a bunch of times. I'm not going to worry about going right to the end. You'll see why here in a second. So this was June 2022. Now that set doesn't have like any punctuation or anything, so I'm just going to take my black pen, add a little apostrophe there, and then my J looks a little bit faint, so I'm just going to go over this. Even though I did a test stamp, I still ended up with a little faint spot there, so that looks good. I'm going to go ahead and stamp the rest of these so we can add them to my pages. Now any one of these that has a date that goes kind of to the edge, like you see anything with a G, goes right to the edge. So rather than tucking this under and covering that up or covering up the little stitching, I'm going to layer these on top of my photo mats. I'm going to go ahead and put this one on the side of that photo, and then I have August one to go over here, and then August the next year over here. Actually, I think I'll go right there. Now the last thing that's on the sketch are some arrows. And I was looking through my stash, and I have these acrylic pieces. They're just like a thin acrylic embellishment, and I have them in white and black. So they're the same shapes except white and black, because I was having trouble deciding. I don't want to add color, I don't think, but I don't know if black will look the best or white will look the best. So I'm just going to try them out and see what I think. Following the sketch, there's a little cluster up in this corner. I thought this would be fun because it would point like right to that spot where she's looking through her little tunnel there. So I'm going to do that. I like how these look over here. I'll have to play around for placement. Glue dots work really good to stick those down. I'm thinking I might want to add something besides just the acrylic arrows. I have this set called Here and There, and I like how there's different words in here. And I have a few actually already cut in the back of my envelope here. So I'm going to try adding these in to my little assortment. Now these have been colored in with a little bit of colored pencil. Luckily it matches what I have going on here, so that works well. And then there should be another cluster of arrows over on this side. And then I have this big paper one that says Adventure. Might have to move this piece down here. I want to stagger these arrows so that they're not all pointing the exact same length. Or I could pull this one back a little bit as well. Kind of let that one be the front one. I could actually add this one with pop dots. Also debating adding my little file tabs with pop dots as well. Now I could swap these out for the white ones. Let's just have a look at see what that looks like. I don't mind it over the color, but where it's over the white cardstock, I don't really like that, because then it kind of disappears and then all of a sudden there's an arrow on there. I think the black is going to be the way to go. All right, I'm going to grab some glue dots so I can stick those down. Now remember, if you guys are enjoying this video today, It is part of a collaboration with the creative design team. So make sure you check out the playlist at the end of today's video so that you can see all the other layouts made by the rest of the design team and get a little bit closer look at the sketchbook. If you haven't picked up your copy yet, I will have that down in the description box for you so you can head over there, check it out along with all of our other sketchbooks. We have 8.5 by 11, 6 by 8, another 12 by 12. There's lots to choose from over there. I am going to do some dimensionals on here. I think I should be able to fit 2 on here. I love the unique shape of these because they seem to fit in like all the strange little areas a little bit better than circles even do. All right, we got that stuck down there. And then I think I want to add some foam dots, some dimensionals to all of my little file tabs as well that have the dates on them. So I'm just going to quickly go around and do that. And I'm just going to let these overlap the photo a little bit like that. All right, I've decided I don't want to use this tag as a tag because I don't really have room for twine or anything like that, and I don't feel like it fits this kind of clean vibe that I have going on here, more like geometric vibe. So I'm going to take one of these little arrows. This one says awesome, and I think I'm just going to put it right over top. This is from that same stamp set. I'm going to put it right over top so it hides that hole and just kind of points that way. I also have some of these acrylic hearts. So these are the same material that the arrows are made out of. And I think I'm going to add some of these around just to add a little bit more embellishment, a little bit more detail, but not too much. I think I might swap out this one here with that one just to switch up the style a little bit. And then according to the sketch, there should be a little embellishment down here. So I'm thinking if I put that like that, or I could put it down there, just kind of wrap it around the corner there. And here is my finished layout, a little bit simpler than my typical style, but I think it works perfectly with these photos and perfect to tell this story. If you haven't grabbed a copy of the sketchbook yet, I will leave it linked down below, and make sure you go on and watch the rest of the CDT videos. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.